Welcome to the Due Diligence Podcast, where we explore how leaders make and execute their biggest decisions, from transactions to founding organizations to career pivots and beyond. This podcast is produced by Sleeping Giant Capital. We connect executive talent and capital to invest in West Michigan businesses. To learn more, visit us at sleepinggiantcapital.com or stop by our office in downtown Kalamazoo.
Welcome to the Due Diligence Podcast.
Glad to be here. Great to be here.
Great to have you both here, and you're in our office too, which is even better. It's good to see both you guys. So, for the listeners, Ben and Rick were our very first co-CEOs, partner search at Sleeping Giant Capital. We haven't done one since, so maybe that's telling of something. I'm not sure, but. But I will say the office has not been as fun and joyful since you guys have left. I think I've never laughed more than when you guys were here. You guys both bring a jovial attitude to this thing, so that's kind of nice. So tell us about yourself, Ben and Rick. Each take a quick turn and spin at your background, who you are, and then you're the CEO of two companies, so we'll get into that, Portland Products and ProStamp. Kind of manufacturing companies. But Ben, give a quick background on yourself and tell why you went down this journey.
Yeah, so mechanical engineer by degree, graduated from Western Michigan University a long time ago. Sorry?
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Yes, go Broncos. Graduated a long time ago. Fortunately, not quite as long as when Rick graduated. Oh, here we go.
Already.
I had to start off with a good one. But I'd always had an entrepreneurial bent. When I was 7, my dad said, if you learn one thing before you leave my house, it'll be how to work. And he made me go door to door, offering to shovel people's driveways. And it led to mowing lawns and then led to other side things. And it kind of been a theme throughout my career of doing something on the side. And yeah, so that led to the possibility of buying a business where Rick and I met, but I'll let him pick up kind of where he was and kind of catch up to where we met, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. So hold on, Ben. How long were you in corporate America or working in a job before you took the entrepreneurial leap? I know you were doing Amazon stuff on the side and stuff like that, but how long were you working on a job?
Well, my first internship I was 17 and 20 years.
20 years.
17 to 37.
Yeah. Okay. Rick, I know you're supposed to be a touch longer, but you can talk about that too.
Yeah, so mechanical engineer by education, also went to Michigan Tech. Go Huskies. Mm-hmm. And graduated in 2003. From there, spent 3 years for a large tier 1 automotive supplier, and then got into technical sales, worked for a composites company, and then went to a company selling factory automation components, which is where Ben and I met, and spent 10 years there. And then we both left that company to join the CIR program here at Sleeping Giant Capital.
Okay. And just so everyone knows, you guys acquired Portland Products and ProStamp, and you were in the CEO in Residence program for 5 months total. Is that right? Less than 5 months?
A few days over 5 months. It was September 18th, February 23rd.
How long, do we know how long, was it under a year from starting acquire to acquisition?
Just over a year.
Just over. Because we would have started acquiring January of 23.
January of 23, but the transition took 2 months once you finished acquire to wrap up roles and exit professionally and keep everything intact. Is that correct too?
Yeah. So June 1st is when I believe you called us and said, hey guys, we'd love to have you as part of the program. Welcome aboard. And then there was a couple months there. Well, it was from June 1st to September 18th before we actually left. And September 18th when we started at Sleeping Giant Capital. It was the first Monday we showed up here. And then obviously closed at Portland was February 23rd of 2024.
Yeah, we probably would have closed quicker.
It would have.
But we were in the middle of the UAW strike during due diligence, and Portland Products is geared heavily automotive.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people forget about the transition, right? I'm in a career. I want to do this. I have to gracefully exit my role and build a long transition plan, right? People forget that. So I just want you guys paint some color on that for you.
Yeah. And also, we took a few months to get our financial houses in order as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it takes time, right? To leave what you're doing and go on this journey. So do you want to give a little shout out to Portland and ProStamp, what they do? I'll do it, but I won't do it right. So maybe one of you guys takes Portland, one of you guys takes ProStamp, or one of you guys takes both of them and tells them what you guys actually do.
Go for it.
All right. So Portland and ProStamp, as a combined entity, is a metal stamping company with significant capabilities in post-stamping value add, meaning we can take the metal parts that we stamp, and then we weld them together. We add weld nuts, add threaded studs, and then we can take those components and assemble those together with purchase components to create mechanisms, hinges, larger weldments, things of that nature, serving the automotive industry, appliance industry, office furniture, a little general industrial sprinkled in there. And so combined, we have 12 stamping presses ranging from 65 to 1,000 tons, about 20 weld cells, with half of those being robotic, and then about 25 automated assembly machines to complement that, over our 110,000 square feet in 2 locations with 130 employees.
Yeah, when people talk about search and ETA, they never talk about this part of it, do they? The presses and the brakes and the stamping and the square feet of the buildings and the capabilities, because you guys went into manufacturing, which is different than most who do service in this path. So in that, you're running these complex manufacturers with a ton of value add, a lot of stamping, but value add post stamping with assemblies and other things. What does a day actually look like day to day for a co-CEO? What's a normal day in the life of Ben and Rick right now?
So it's a mix. I mean, obviously we're not a huge company, so there's different hats that gets worn. But it's a mix of the big hairy things, like direction, strategy, and culture. But then there's also sometimes when you got to get into the minutia of the day to day, and hey, so and so had this issue come up. What are we going to do about that? Or we had this forklift go down, or we had a press go down, or different fun things like that. So it's a mix of both, and you're constantly bouncing and moving between the big things, culture and strategy, and where we're going to be in 2 or 5 years, and what we're trying to accomplish, to, oh, hey, guess what? This broke, or this happened, or this person's dealing with this issue. How are we going to handle that?
Well, we'll get into what went wrong in a little bit, or things that could possibly go wrong, or things you warn others about. But let's shed some light on your transition. Talk about leaving your role into the CEO in residency and into the CEO. Any things you want to share with the audience that says, this is some things I wish I thought about, or here's some things we did really well, or here's some things I do differently.
Yeah, I think as we reflected on this coming into today, the biggest thing that we realized looking back at it is it was really starting 2 brand new jobs that were completely different than what we had done before in a very short period of time. And so just the amount of information that was coming at us so fast. First, transitioning from being a sales guy, if you will, to all of a sudden we're full-time search and getting some kind of deal pipeline going, and working on how do we communicate what we bring to a potential seller's organization, and how are we going to not mess up their baby, if you will, and figuring that out, and then jumping into due diligence and learning and finding out what we have to do there to get this across the finish line. and then showing up on day one in a hard gear shift into, okay, I'm done searching now, we're done with due diligence, and drop it into first gear, and now we're leading the organization and getting our arms around that business and uptaking all of that information. It was it was a lot in a very short period of time.
Yeah, because there's a lot of training for search, but you only do that hopefully for the shortest time possible, right? You guys were 5 months, but it's a very complex job, right? It's not like this.
There's a lot of things that you don't really usually get exposed to. I mean, how many people have done LOIs? How many people have had to go through a purchase agreement? How many people? I mean, there's a lot of things that you're exposed to. So I would say it was a steep learning curve, right? It was like starting a whole new job. Rick's description fits it well. It's like starting a whole new job, and then, oh, hey, guess what? 5 months later, you're doing it all over again. Because unless you have years of experience being a CEO, that's going to be a new role too. And so there was a lot of learning really fast. It was a ton of fun and thoroughly enjoyed it. But there was a lot coming at you. I don't think I want to do that, for decades on end. But for that stretch of time, it was a blast. Enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah, I get to do that for decades on end, I guess. So I suffer through that. But I think, what I remember from that whole thing, the LOIs and all that is it, but how many, breakfast meetings we had together with owners. I remember that, at small little local specialized restaurant that has really good eggs and coffee, and you're sitting there with us and the owner. I have fond memories of that, and how often you do that, and how often those negotiations break down, how you build a relationship with this, the seller and the representatives. I remember a lot of that from you guys, to be honest. I remember driving to like these random breakfast spots and having these great meals and deep negotiations over breakfast. I mean, that's a big part of that.
It was fun to see the different business. I mean, that was, I'd say, one of the favorite parts of the search, was you don't really get to see the insides of a business at that level very often, and to see that many was a ton of fun. You're like, wow, this is totally different than the last one I looked at, or this guy did this way, interesting. It's fascinating to see all the different businesses and that we had the opportunity to look at, see, and dive into.
And even if they were the same, no two are the same.
Right. But they're the same. Even they're the same.
So transition out of your role into CEO in residence and then to CEO. Anything that you had an assumption that was totally off or totally turned out to be wrong? And you guys reflected on that.
So I liken the process to when you buy a home, but you don't get your own agent. You only get to talk to the seller's agent, right? And they can take you to the parts of the house and only show you what they want to show you. And then you get to do your due diligence, but really that's just confirming that they pulled a permit to build the sunroom on the back of the house, right? And you don't find out what you get until you move in, right? And you come in and you pull the carpet back in the first room, and maybe you find a spot where a cat peed for a long time. But then you go in the next room and you pull back the carpet and you find these beautiful old hardwood floors that just need a little refinishing. And fortunately, we had a lot of beautiful hardwood floors that we found once we got into the seat. But so we were told how great the team was. And we were able to have a little bit of interaction with some of the senior leadership at the organization prior to the close. But after closing and once we got into the seat, we found out just how great the team was and how ready they were for change and how hungry they were to grow. And that has been just a lot of fun to see that and learn that and get to know them, and how much stronger the team really was even than what we were told, during the process. And so that's been fun. What were some of the other?
So that's the beautiful hardwood in the house, right? You pull back the carpet, and you got this team, and then all of a sudden they're energized for growth and to do things, and it's even more fun. Is that what you're referring to? Is in the analogy, Rick?
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about some of the stuff. I mean, everyone wants to talk about the joy and all this and, magic, all these podcasts. Like, yeah, this happens naturally and everybody, does well. What are some things that, uncomfortable stuff that went wrong, that's not going the way you thought it did? Things that you wish you had done better, key lessons.
So the sales side we talked about, that moved slower than we expected.
Yeah.
Well, go on that. Go on that. What do you mean slower than expected and the sales timing? Talk about that.
Yeah. So from a growth standpoint, we made some assumptions around the sales cycle and the sales engine at the company. And we learned pretty quickly once we got into the seat, most of the assumptions that we had made around that were wrong. We greatly underassumed how quickly we could generate new revenue. The sales cycles are much longer than we had assumed they were. And the sales process for the product that we sell, I think, is more complicated than what we had anticipated that it's going to be for a value-added metal stamping that we're selling to business to very complex customers, right? Very large organizations, large multinational companies and things like that. So that's probably one area where we were very off on the assumptions we made. That anything else you want to?
No, that's the big one that came to mind. I mean, there's small things that I'm sure we ran into. None come to mind at the moment right now.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm curious because you guys are both very, very experienced sales guys, right? And we still got that wrong as a team. We all even we misidentified that, and you guys misidentified it, which is pretty hard to fathom, looking back, but fact, right?
Yeah. No, it did not move as fast as we thought it would. And that, it's coming from two guys that spent a lot of years selling different market we sold in, not the exact same market. So that probably played into it too. That may have created a little bit of a blind spot there.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't move quick. Also ran into, year in, we ran into the tariff situation. So that slowed things down too, we found. So it affected the business also, especially on the automotive side. So it was a reminder of, you can plan all you want, but there's always things that'll happen that you probably didn't plan on.
Yeah, so, the ETA books and the search and buy a small business books don't say, what do you do when tariffs hit, right? At large scale.
There's no chapter on that.
There's no chapter on that. Okay, I want to make sure I hit this one, and there's a small thing that, it's a challenge, small thing that went wrong, but you guys were 4 weeks in, and I get a text from Rick. I think it was Rick, and he said, "This is what you don't want to see." I had no idea what I was even looking at. And most people in buying small businesses, they buy like service firms, and they avoid CapEx and they avoid manufacturing, which we believe is probably the heart of the economy. A lot of it, if we can do it right. So talk about that. I get this text. I know we got it pulled up. So share your screen and walk me through what this text is. What, like, things you don't plan for. So, and if you're on video, or we can get this in video, so I get this text, and Rick says, "What you don't want to see." I'm trying to figure out what this thing even is, to be honest. But I'm like, why do I not want to see this? I think was my response. So walk through this. We're 4 weeks into an acquisition, of a company that is a stamping company. What is this, and what is the picture, and why is it on a truck bed?
Yeah, so this is drive shaft and then clutch assembly for one of our 400-ton presses over in Portland. And so
if you're listening, I'm looking at a full transport trailer, and it looks like it has one massive part on the back of it, which has been extracted from one of our manufacturing machines. Is that accurate?
Yep, exactly. The flatbed trailer, semi-trailer with drive shaft and clutch from one of our presses, which is basically engages it, makes it go round and round. So the motor connects to this, and then the gears on each end, if you can see the picture, are what basically drive the press. And there's a keyway between that large round part and the shaft in the middle that had to basically be completely remachined and redone, and came with about an $80,000 bill.
So $80,000 bill. How big is this part? You think
10, 12 feet long?
12, 14 feet long.
12, 14, yeah, in there.
So a little bigger than a car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Roughly?
the shaft, what, 6, 8 inches in diameter?
Yeah. Yeah. If you go to one of the other images, you can see some scale.
Yeah, we'll see if we can go to some other ones. I mean, they are lifting it out of the actual press.
Yeah. So there's 3 guys, and it looks bigger than all 3 of them with a forklift trying to get this thing out of the press.
Yeah, those big gears there on the side, those are 5 feet in diameter, 6 feet in diameter.
A little bit, but I think there's one that has a guy in a man lift right next to the gear. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
these are not small parts. So this is why people don't buy manufacturing, right?
There's a 6-foot guy next to the gear on the end of the press, so that gives you an idea of scale.
Oh yeah, it's bigger. It's way bigger than them. So talk me through this. $80,000 to fix this machine, this part, and the machine's not running, correct?
Yeah.
And we were down for 4 weeks.
4 or 6 weeks, yeah.
Yeah.
4 to 6 weeks, you get a machine, which is how you guys make money. It has to spit out parts. Not running, and you got an $80,000 bill.
Yep.
How did you guys handle that, or how did the situation come up? And you're 4 weeks into a new CEO role. How did you find out first? Like, how did you like? Who came and told you? And then what did you guys do? Like, take us through that moment.
So I remember very distinctly our general manager came up and said, "Now don't panic, but."
That's never a good way to start a conversation.
And at that time, we didn't have a full understanding of the scope of the repair. We only knew at that time we had an issue. And so again, our team did a really fantastic job of laying out a plan, putting together, shifting production from that press to other presses, getting the repair company in for evaluation, putting the plan together and the timeline for that, and understanding what that was going to look like. And so that took a lot of the stress out of that situation, because they had a plan, it made sense, and we just had to work the plan. Once the repair company got into it, and we fully understood it and what the cost was, then it was okay. Well, what do we need to do to make this happen? Obviously we need the press to be going up and down and making parts, right? And so it was a good baptism by fire being 4 weeks in and having that experience. It made lots of the other things happening at the time seem relatively insignificant.
Insignificant. I'm correct.
There's also
the
some
toilet
checking of financials and making sure that, okay, because you're 4 weeks in, okay, this is going to become a problem. It's not going to cause a problem, etc. So, I mean, there was a plan, and we knew there's a path through it. And as long as the next press doesn't go down in the same time period, we're okay.
Now,
so if we didn't do those, it would have been a problem.
Am I correct in saying that the toilet also overflowed sometime in the last couple of years in the plant, or where I thought I saw a video or something? You don't have to show it, but
so,
is that also something?
It was a water main that broke. It was a little worse than the toilet, but it actually ran through a bathroom where it broke. And that was spring of last year is when that was. And we got a text, I think it was 6:30 in the morning or so, with hey.
It was really late or really early.
Yeah, I think the text came through later, but yeah, it was a pipe along the back of a room, which is a bathroom. So there's a toilet. That's why it looked like the toilet had erupted just spraying water. And that was shortly before it was shut off. And that bill wasn't near as bad. I think it was about $15,000 for that one.
Only.
Yeah, only. Compared to 80, it was. And that resulted in a line being dug up. Fortunately, we didn't have to go under a road or anything, but replacing part of a water main to that building.
Yeah. So there's $100,000 of cost. But was that in your financial models when you did the acquisition?
Definitely was not. Definitely was not. Now there was some maintenance capex in there, which but we wasn't planning on pulling 80 grand at one shot, I can tell you that.
I guess that counts. So you guys are co-CEOs, right? So there's these regular doing business challenges, which in manufacturing stuff breaks, right? And you guys have maintenance capex prepared for that. What's the hardest part of the co-CEO relationship? That if someone wanted to do a co-search, co-CEO, what do you think the hardest challenge is for you guys?
So
how do you deal with it?
Do us work together or just of the business?
But either, anything. What's the hardest thing being co-CEO?
So the hardest thing is CEOs, I'd say we run into, which has been there's a lot of really good folks that have been for a long time, but getting everyone on board going the same direction. In some ways it's been really easy. We have some people that are like, oh, absolutely, I've been wanting to go this way. And there's other places where it's been a lot harder. And not only is it just the one organization, but it's two organizations moving the same direction. And so there's different cultures, there's different histories, there's different things between both of them. And so pulling all that together into the same direction, I'd say it's probably been one of the most rewarding, but also one of the most difficult.
Yeah. And part of that, specifically as it relates to being co-CEOs, a lot of our team was skeptical on how it was going to work with two of us.
Really?
Yeah, there was definitely some concern, like, oh, am I going to hear do this from Ben and then do the opposite from Rick 3 hours later? And, you know, Ben says like, go right, Rick says go left, or
we should do that for fun sometime.
Well, in the reverse of that, do you ever get the dad said no, so I'm going to go ask mom? Do you ever get any of that going on?
We have not.
Don't, and
I think they don't get caught really fast.
The reason that we don't get that is it took our team about 37 seconds to learn how aligned we are.
Hmm.
And
so how do you guys stay aligned then? Like, well, what's your?
That's our secret weapon.
That's it comes from kind of where the journey started about 10 years ago in our previous lives, where we were doing the same job, selling the same products to the same types of customers, but in different territories. And while we were both extremely competitive, which you probably picked up on a little bit while we were here as CIRs, we helped each other out a lot. And neither one of us can pinpoint exactly when it started, but in between customers, we would call each other and say, hey, I ran into this customer. How would you handle that? Or I need to get this done. How would you go about that? And as we progressed in our professional lives at that organization, we would also start talking about, hey, this is happening in the business, and this is, you know, what leadership decided to do. What would you have done differently? Or how would you have gone about that? And so we have a lot of practice doing that and have brought that into this role. And that's where our superpower comes into play. Each of us has an hour commute into the office, an hour every morning and an hour every afternoon. And we spend more time talking to each other probably than we do our wives.
Make sure your wives don't listen to this, by the way.
Oh, they know.
Oh, they already know.
Appreciate to a degree, though, because what happens is when we get home, you've already had a chance to decompress and talk to someone else about the business, about, hey, this is what happened. So some days we're in the same location, some days we're in different locations. And our conversations will usually reflect that. So if we're both at the same location that day, it'll be a lot of, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Or, this happened and I don't think that's the way we need to go, or we really need to sit and spend some time on this or that, whatever the topic is. And if we're in different locations, then there's a lot of, hey, here's what happened in Portland today, here's what happened in Grand Rapids today, here's what's going on, here's what I ran into, etc. But we'll sit and talk through that, and then we get home, it's, hey, honey, how are you doing? How are the kids doing? You processed it, you've decompressed, and you're having that discussion with someone who's living it day to day with you. So you're not having to sit and explain, well, hey, this person's been here for 10 years and this issue came up, but this person, whatever it is, right? You don't have to do that because you're both in the day to day together in the trenches fighting the same thing. So it actually has worked amazingly well and has worked out way better than we expected, and also creates a really high level alignment to where even the folks or team members will tell one of us one thing and just expect that it makes it to the other.
Okay.
So, I mean, people tell me things about sales and they just expect that it's going to get told to Rick. They don't even ask, like, hey, can you make sure that Rick knows about this, or do I need to let Rick know about that or not? And they just assume, oh yeah, no, it'll probably make it to Rick by the evening commute.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So you guys are co-CEOs, and it's like, well, who does what, and how did you guys structure your partnership, and how did you divide like roles in the organization? If someone's considering this, how would they do it?
So we looked at strengths, and it was interesting because when we went through Acquire, I think the first lesson was looking at your strengths and your weaknesses. And we actually built a Venn diagram because there's two of us, right? So it's what are Ben's strengths, what are Rick's strengths, where are we overlap, where are we separate? And I'll go back a little bit to what Rick said. Before we did this, we'd be driving around between customers, and we'd sit and we'd either talk about how a customer, a sale was going, or we talk about where the business that we worked in was going, and maybe what you do differently. And what we found very quickly was that we didn't agree on everything. And when we didn't agree, the question was, okay, well, why? Or why do you feel this? So, I mean, maybe it's, I think we should hire another sales guy. And Rick says, no, I don't think so. And so, okay, well, then why don't you think so? Why do I think so? What we usually found was either there was some information that maybe one of us had, the other one didn't, or there was an assumption being made that one of us made, the other one didn't, or we were weighting assumptions differently, right? We could usually fairly quickly figure out why there was a difference, and more often than not, that difference brought about a better view of the decision or the topic. So we felt that we made much better decisions together with both of us going at it than we did with just one of us going at it, and brought those in. So that then led to why we wanted to do this together, enjoy it together, and then also then led to, okay, as we break apart roles, the way we did it was Rick is basically focused on more the outside and the sales side of it. I'm focused on more the inside, the operation side of it. And we did that. Rick's the kind of guy who walks into a room and everyone enjoys hanging out with him. He has a great time. He's a ton of fun to hang out with. I'm not near as much fun to hang out with. But if you want to make sure the numbers get done right, probably me. But we're both engineers. But it's not like Rick can't do numbers. I mean, he's an engineer, right? And it's not like I can't do sales. I've actually done sales longer in my career than Rick has. And so that's where there's this mutual respect, because we can cross over to each other's worlds really easily, but we also respect what each other can do and their strength and just who they are and how that plays out in that role. I mean, we used to go to conferences together for work, and I was like, hey, 9 o'clock, let's go to bed. And Rick's like, no, we got to go out to the party bus and go meet more people and have more fun and things like that. Okay, so he dragged me with, right? And then, we'd be working.
You always learn something.
I would. I would usually be like, that's really good that we went. We met somebody that we wouldn't have met, had a great conversation that we wouldn't have had. Like, that was a good thing. And then we get into, how do we design a commission plan for somebody? Like, oh, I figured out this way of doing this and bracketing it this way. And he's like, okay, that makes my head hurt, but I understand it and let's go. So that was why we divided it up the way we did, is it played on strengths. And that's how we do it. So, Rick heads up basically bringing sales and orders in, and I head up getting them out the door, and then big decisions we make together. And we talk enough that we've never, ever run into a situation where it's like, wait a minute, you did what without telling me? Usually we probably err on the other side, but again, that goes down to just spending, 1 to 2 hours a day talking just about the business while we're driving.
Well, I think, so let me ask a question. It's probably your sales background where you know how to like complex sales. You guys weren't doing selling. You had complex sales background. You're doing complex sales now of very, very high-end parts for some products. And it takes a lot of emotional intelligence when it sounds great, right? Well, I ask about his assumptions and what assumptions is he making and how are they making them different? That sounds great. When you're in the day-to-day of things, that's really hard to do. So do you guys put like checks and balances in? Is there any like trigger words, or is it just your ride home's your secret power? Because I would love to say I go home with my wife and be like, hey, I do this and I listen to her and we never get in an argument. And, when she does that, then I do this nice, like it never happens that way. Like you can read and read, but it like, how do you guys in the day-to-day of things?
Into this though, and it was funny, we were talking about this too, is our relationship has always been a professional relationship. It wasn't like, we were best friends from high school or we're family. I mean, it's always been as coworkers. Now because we've enjoyed working together, we've also hung out and had fun together and, done things like that, right? But it's not like we go on vacation or we see each other for Christmas or things like that. And so it takes a level of emotion out of it when that was the foundation the relationship was built on.
Okay.
Right? So that plays into it to a degree, right? I mean, if your wife, obviously, it's not a professional relationship. It's as partners, it's as lovers, everything else that comes with that emotional side. For the two of us, there's emotion in it, but not the same level as it would be as, best friends from high school or brothers or brother-in-laws or whatever, cousin, family or friends. So that reduces, I think, the amount of emotion. We're both in this for the same reason, trying to go the same way.
And it also comes back to staying in your lane, right? And just having the awareness, like, okay, that's Ben's lane, right? I'm going to share my opinion very vigorously on something, perhaps maybe a little too vigorously, but you know what? That's his call. I'm not going to die on that hill, right? And it goes the same way the other way.
We put that. I mean, we put that in emails. Well, here's my opinion, or we've had that discussion. Here's my opinion on what we should do, and here's why. But at the end of the day, this is your call, and do what you think is best. And let the chips fall where they will, and if it doesn't go right, I guess you need to fix it.
So it's one of the things that that I think people kind of skip over, and if you do like some strategy planning stuff and that sort of thing, right? Like you just need consensus, right? Which isn't the same as agreement. You're like, okay, that's a different decision maybe than I would have made. I understand where you're coming from. I'll back it. And if it goes wrong, you know what? We're going to fix it. We're going to learn from it and move on, right? And so, knowing that agreement and consensus aren't always the same thing, right? And having that respect from what we've each done and what our strengths are, it's like they don't all need to go my way, right? And hey, maybe sometimes I'm wrong, and you just kind of got to work through it,
So the other thing I'll add to this is, so if there was a document actually put together at one point, kind of outlining a little bit the rules of engagement. And this was one of the attractions to doing this with Sleeping Giant Capital and through the Acquire class, is if we get to a big decision and we're split and we're both on opposite sides and think we should go different ways and can't come up with here's the way we should go, there's a board involved. And if it's a decision at that level, we can take it to the board and get their opinion. So there is a tiebreaker for us. It's called the board. If we really, and we've never run into this spot, but that was our plan, is if we get into, hey, Ben thinks we should, build a new plant, and Rich thinks that's a really bad idea, whatever it is, some big decision that we're making together that's not, inconsequential, and we can't come to an agreement on it, well, then we're going to involve the board and say, hey, here's where we're at. Here's why we think we should do this and why we think we should do this. We're torn on which direction to go, and we're looking for input. What would you guys recommend we do?
So there's a good segue. But before we get there, I thought it was just Rick saying I'm older and better looking, so it's going my way. Isn't that how that works?
I have played that card.
The older card, I play for him actually.
Older, better looking.
The better looking, that's
It's
debatable.
called wisdom.
He's got less
Okay.
hair than me.
So let's talk through the next thing. I mean, you guys were one of our first, Justin and you guys and Michael. And so we've learned and continuously are learning how to function with the board, how to structure the board, your relationship with the board. I didn't put this in your prep questions, but how did you guys think about your board and how are you thinking about it now? You said you go to them for the tiebreaker, but what have you learned so far about how to build a board, how to make sure your board is on your side, and how to make sure your board is being useful, I guess.
There's a lot there.
There is a lot there.
There is a lot there.
The one
I
that
never
sticks
thought about
out to
this, but
me is
no one talks about this. Like,
sometimes it's good if they're not on our side. And I'll explain that so you don't misconstrue it, because you always want them on our side, right? But it's really powerful and extremely helpful to be able to walk in to a room with our board and have them really challenge our thinking on something, and really push us into, hey, are you sure you covered all your bases on that? Right? They're clearly on our side, right? Because they're trying to help us, make the decision that's best for the organization. But having that ability to, you could call it tough love. You can, there's lots of words for it, right? But that's probably one of the most powerful things and helpful things that the board does for us.
So I would agree with what Rick says. Totally. I would. One of the questions you asked is, how do you think about the people on the board? And this I would have to give credit to Doug for. When Doug was involved with picking board members, and I'd say we did it as a team, right? Rick and myself and Doug, the three of us really kind of said, hey, okay, who do we need? But each board member was picked because they brought a certain experience or a certain skill to the board that we felt we needed. It wasn't just, hey, I like this guy, or hey, he's a nice guy, or hey, he might have some knowledge. There's specific things that the board members had done or involved with. We have one board member that has a lot of experience in a similar industry to us, with different product, obviously, so there's not overlap there. Another board member that has a lot of experience with bringing two businesses together or multiple businesses together, and that integration and what that looks like, also just operations in general. And then the third independent board member actually came from a business where it was a 50-50 ownership between two families. And so has a lot of experience just with handling that dynamic. And that was the reason each one of those board members we asked to be on the board. Wasn't something that we necessarily came up with. That was driven more by Doug. And I look back at it and I go, man, it was great. I wouldn't have done anything differently in that regard.
So let's lessons for listeners. If I'm an ETA or I'm in search, or I'm acquiring something, or I'm running a business and I want to put a board together, knowing that you guys are a couple years in now and you've got two companies you're running and very complex, and there's two of you, what would you guys suggest on this is how I'd put a board together and this is how I'd use them?
So I would reiterate what I said on how you put it together is what are you looking for, and finding people that have experience and have done that well the way you want to do it. Right?
Perhaps where are your weaknesses? We had never put two companies together, and so identified, hey, we should find somebody that has experience with that to help guide us through that part of it.
For example, let's say you own a business, you're running a business, and you want to grow through some acquisition. A board member that's done acquisitions would be really helpful, right? There's a great example right there, because there's going to be things that you haven't done, haven't experienced, haven't gone through that they're going to be able to point out and kind of see around those corners before you make a mistake and learn the hard way. That's the goal of it. So which kind of leads to the second thing, which is how to use the board. That's what we use them a lot for, is these big decisions, these big strategy questions. How do you look at this? How would you view that? And then they also, obviously, they keep us in line, maybe is a way to describe it, but we'll come to them and say, hey, we are going into this project or we want to make this investment, and then they'll stress test it. And that's kind of what Rick said, they're always working for you, but they'll challenge you on it. And it's really good because there might be assumptions we made that they have the experience to say, that assumption is crap. You guys might say that, but I want to see something to back that up because I don't think that's how it'll work out, and it hasn't maybe been how it's worked out for them in real life. So stress testing things that we want to do or go for, and that's we use the board a lot of, or for a lot of, is those types of things. And it's been great. Sometimes at times it's been a little frustrating, but it's been really appreciated at the same time. They've definitely pushed us to be better, helped us grow, and I feel the decisions are much more sound as a result of that.
Okay, good. Yeah, very, very interesting back. Let's go positive. Let's end on positive. What have you guys, are you most proud of? What have you accomplished? What goals have you hit, and how did you hit them? Like, what's made you reflecting the last couple of years? What are you most proud of so far, and how did you accomplish that?
Go ahead.
Or some big positives.
So one, that was a massive win for us. I got so outwardly excited when this happened that people were asking if I was okay. But we had just acquired the company. I'm meeting with the sales guy, and this is on the Portland side of the equation before the ProStamp acquisition, and we had this massive project that we had quoted. That top line revenue, it's like a 30% growth in business with this one project. And I was getting a lot of, we're not going to get that. They're just using us as they have to get 3 quotes, and just a lot of negativity around the deal. And it kept pushing at it, and we won that business. About 5 months in, we were awarded the business. It was late summer. And we've kicked off a fairly significant capital investment for that. The equipment is actually being delivered last week of this month or first week of next month, and it starts production in September. It's going to be a really, really important piece of business for us. It is really helping us, achieve the growth that we wanted and could see in the company. It's really pushed our team. It's higher volume than anything that we've done before, and really forced us to get out of the box. So we were pretty proud of that. Really, I was so ecstatic when I got the award letter in my inbox. Our HR manager came in the conference room and asked me if I was okay.
and business in your guys' world is not like a sale. It's a long-term, multi-year production contract, right? I mean, that's everyone wins a big
it's like
win,
an
right?
8-year. Yeah, this is an 8-year program.
Yeah.
Of significant sales dollars per year. Kind of baseline planning volumes, 1.5 million pieces a year.
Yeah, that's a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
Make sure the press brake doesn't break again.
Exactly.
Ben, anything from you?
Our welding equipment will put out 2 parts every 13 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good CapEx spend. What Ben, anything for you? Any big positive, any big goal you've hit, excited about thus far?
So the thing that I think has been the most fun, it's also at times the most challenging, but it's been the most rewarding too, is seeing the team come together and move in a really good direction, and then to see that flow through the organization. I mean,
You mean between the 2 locations?
not even in the specific locations. I mean, I won't go into detail, but I mean, we've gotten thank you letters from employees for how we've handled things. We've had people come up to us. I mean, those types of things are super rewarding. And to have the opportunity to make someone's life a little better, to give them an opportunity they didn't have, to treat them the way you'd want to be treated, has been awesome and super, super rewarding. Obviously, it doesn't happen every day, but that's what we strive to do. And to see the fruit of that has been awesome. And to continue to build in that direction. I mean, people go through things, life happens, and obviously your job is a huge part of your life, and the way that can be handled and is handled can have a huge impact on an individual's life and how things go. So to be able to come by people on that, but also to give you those opportunities, that's been really cool.
Yeah, super cool. That's awesome. All right, well, I'm gonna let you guys go. It's been fantastic talking to you guys. I don't get to talk to you guys much. I'm not on your board, so
I know we missed that. You get to visit us sometime.
I keep saying I'm going to come visit. I actually drove through Portland and stopped at a gas station. I thought maybe I should swing by, but I was in a rush. So
next time, plan some time to stop by.
Let's go a little rapid fire. Right? I say some rapid fire questions, but I'm going to go off the cuff here. Who's your favorite leader?
Oh man, this got asked at the CEO day too.
I really like Pat Lencioni.
Pat Lencioni's good. Trying to think of someone who embodies all the different things I've seen in different leaders. I mean, there's parts from each one. I mean, there's things from Warren Buffett. You go, man, that's really good. There's things from Patrick Lencioni. You go, man, that's really good. There's things from Simon Sinek. You go, man, that's really good.
That's another good one.
I mean, there's even things from Dave Ramsey. You go, man, that's really good. There's other things from Dave Ramsey I might not agree with. I mean, but that's where there's not. I don't know if there's one that has everything.
No commitment from Ben. Is this your drive homes
not
go?
committal.
Not
Is this a
committal.
reflection of your drive homes, Rick? Like you guys, no commitment, just discuss things all the way.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, if there was an animal that reflected your leadership style, which animal would it be?
We're laughing. This came up once, and I remember what I said. I probably won't say that again, though.
Well, that was just a word to describe leadership.
Oh, that was a word?
It wasn't an animal.
Okay.
So that's different.
Yeah, animal. I don't know. I'll go with the bear. How about that? Usually I'm just kind of moving along, but then all of a sudden we'll have to just move and we're tearing through things. How about that?
Yeah.
So let me repeat that. You're a bear because you're just moving along, taking care of things, but sometimes you got to move a little faster to really get involved.
We're crashing through some things.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm fairly steady.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while I get wound up.
Rick?
That's what I got. I didn't put much thought into that.
Boy, I don't know. That's tough. I have a hard time doing that for myself. What would you say? We're going to cause a fist fight now.
So you're more like a dog.
We don't want to say, what did he say last time at the CEO day? Was it like angry toddler or something? What was the...
Oh, that was the word described you. That's what we were laughing about.
That was the word. It was toddler.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And then he described his rationale, and I went, okay, that's accurate.
That's accurate, yeah.
Fair.
So that's why I was like, you think like a lamb. You just go, right? They might bounce off some furniture. It was similar to toddler.
Similar to toddler.
But always going.
Let's just go. Might bounce off at something.
Might knock on the lamp. Well, let's go. It's always up for a good time. I feel like that.
And I will learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, usually bump it over once.
Okay.
But Rick will go. He's not afraid to walk into anything.
One word to describe your leadership style. One word.
Describe it or strive it. I'd say the hopefully describes it. Strive towards consistent.
Consistent. That's
first what popped in my head. And that obviously drives the culture. It makes things so much smoother as if you have a consistent message and a consistent, here's where we're going, consistent vision. And when you obviously can't say the same thing for 30 years straight, but when you do make a pivot or a change or an adjustment or an update, you make that clear. Okay, we've made it to this point. Now we're going after this. And consistently communicating that and consistent in what you say.
Okay. One piece or the best piece of advice you'd give to somebody that's sitting in corporate America right now that is thinking of going on this journey?
You only get one life, make it count.
Rip the Band-Aid off. Go do it.
Run.
Go do it.
Rip the. Okay. Good. Yeah. Any advice on how? So do it is the first one. Any advice on things they should do to make sure they're successful?
Oh, you got to surround yourself with people who know what they're doing, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we decided to partner with SGC. We didn't know. And SGC helped fill in that giant blind spot. Years ago, I had gotten the idea to, I want to go try and buy a business, right? I know I can sell, and so let's go do something. I was wildly disenchanted with my corporate job at the time, and I'll date myself, right? There just wasn't as much information on the internet, right? Like some things were a click away, but not like it is today. And I ran into this spot so quickly that I just didn't know which way to go once I hit that spot. And you don't know what you don't know and what you're going to run into. And surround yourself. Put together the all-star team. Build that network of people you can call and go, hey, I just ran into this. And you have a good enough relationship with that person where they can tell you the honest truth about it, right? That takes a lot of the potential for things to go really sideways, and they can still go really sideways, right? But it really de-risks the whole proposition if you can build that team around you of people you can trust to fill in those blind spots.
Good. All right. Well, Ben and Rick, congratulations. Great seeing you both. It's been fantastic to see your journey. You guys still hold the record for starting acquired to closing a company, your first company and second company, and fastest to starting CEO in residence to being in the CEO chair.
I'm not seeing the plaque on the wall here for that.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a plaque, wasn't there?
A plaque for that. I don't know. It's got to be adjustable in case someone beats it, I guess, or renewable.
Oh, then ours, you can give us the ours and be like, sorry, this is just old news now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And you guys have had some amazing milestones with acquiring your first company, acquiring your second company, getting that big line of business. You had the governor come visit you guys and give a presentation to your employees.
That was fun.
You guys have had a lot of cool things happen so far, and it's still early. We're excited to see this thing continue to go. So if you need something, a part made or assembled or stamped, Portland Products and Pro Stamp. Thank you, Ben and Rick. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Thank you, Derek. Have a good one, sir.